Let's begin. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello, everybody. It's been another week of things happening in the world of Overwatch, and we are here to tell you about those things. Although you knew that because, unless you've never heard this podcast before and arrived here by random, that's kind of what we do every week. I'm Ruskeydoo.
And I'm Grey.
Normally I think of something witty to say at the beginning of the show, and today I just haven't really prepared my brain for anything. So I'm going meta. I'm talking about the experience of not having thought of anything. Let's do the summary, shall we?
Let's go for it.
Okay, good. Firstly, Reinhardt gets patched up. Cheetah is now Leopard. Gun skins. Doomfist making a vid and date of arrival. Doomfist comic. Forum things. Comic-Con Overwatch talk. Doesn't matter. And baseball doesn't like competitive Overwatch. Oh, yeah. Tantalizing, isn't it? So tantalizing. Okay. So, first up is Reinhardt in the PTR getting a load of stuff changed with him.
Well, it kind of seems like they've just gone and addressed a whole slew of issues that Reinhardt has had for, some of them for quite a while, some of them for short amounts of time, like the swing not connecting properly.
And they've also given him the butt. Did we talk about this last week?
Yeah, we did.
Did we know that it was happening or something?
Yeah, we did know. It was in the patch notes, and you were like, it doesn't feel like too overpowered. And I was like, it might be a bit strong.
Wait, we talked about this last week, why am I talking about it now?
Okay, so because this time what they've said is they've looked at the problems with Reinhardt's charge and the Firestrike hitbox and the hammer swing
latency,
issue.
Wasn't it? It wasn't like a weird bug. It was just that's the result of what happens when you have multiple models running at different times, and you think you're hitting someone, but if the server doesn't think they're right in front of you and the server thinks they're off to the side, they get bounced off and you're like, but I had a straight on connection then, and it's very...
The bizarre thing is that there have been changes under the hood to Reinhardt because people have noticed the changes. And it looks like they're just trying to tweak it so it feels better for Reinhardt.
Yes.
We'll see how it feels on the other side.
Yeah, it's a tricky one because for a close combat character, latency is always going to be much, much more of an issue, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's not just like... With shooting people, it feels bad when you're behind a wall and you get shot, or vice versa. When
but
it
being
feels good.
hit by something when you're across the map feels even worse.
Yeah, and if you're using your body as a weapon, like Reinhardt does, then it's a thing.
Absolutely. Actually, kind of small tangent because I've been playing a bit of Doomfist on the PTR again, just to kind of get a feel for him. And it's one of those things that it's very noticeable when your lag is kind of slightly off and the charges don't feel right. And people don't it's one of those things that I think that's going to be very difficult for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the Firestrike hitbox being bigger, though, that I find bizarre because the Firestrike hitbox was pretty big as it was.
No, I agree. So the thing is, they did change it so that it was smaller and it was actually really accurate. And I really liked that because it was one of those things of sometimes I feel like I'm not in a Reinhardt Firestrike, but I still take the damage. And I'm just like, okay, maybe that's like a tick thing, but I swear that it was slightly lopsided. So
really?
If I was slightly, I can't remember, I can never remember if it's right or left, but there is definitely one side where I felt like it looks like it's going to go past my ear, but it'd still hit me. But on the other side, it would just whistle past my hair, despite feeling like I was almost being hit by it, and it felt very right.
One thing that really intrigues me about the Reinhardt change is Firestrike and charge animations now sync correctly, regardless of network latency. That basically means that they're going to, I presume, just going to look at the model of the game that the attacker is running and give it massive attacker's bias. So, although that'll feel great from the Reinhardt end, what it's going to be like from other people is there's going to be this massive hoover just sucking them into Reinhardt's charge.
I was thinking more that what they're probably going to do is they're going to change. They've figured out ways to tweak the animations so that they're more likely to look like what's actually happening.
Have they tweaked the animations though?
I don't know. I haven't.
Nothing different happens on Reinhardt's charge when he's charging. It's not like
I don't think it's something that you'd notice. But what you could do is you could do things like speed up the animation of the charge, so that it's keeping up with where the Reinhardt is on the attacker's screen compared to like the defender's screen. So it looked like the animation is slightly shorter.
Oh,
like a frame or two.
No, you couldn't like, for someone playing as Reinhardt, you couldn't like adjust the speed of their charge on someone else's latency.
Not theirs, but on the server, what you do is you like have slightly shorter versions of the animation when he starts charging, and like when the fire strikes. So that it's just.
I don't think that'd work.
No. I don't think, because they do these things with projectiles for Pharah, where the projectile comes out. It's like they do predictive stuff with the projectile, right? Yeah, so that it appears where when they fire it. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like that's kind of the kind of thing that they're probably doing.
Oh man, I'd love to be able to see under the hood and actually know the actual mechanics. But
we'll ask Jeff one day. We'll get him on the podcast. That's what we should do.
One day.
One day. Any day
Anyhow,
now.
Cheetah is now leopard. So, do you remember we were banging on about how Doomfist's cheetah skin actually had leopard print?
Yes.
The cheetah skin is now called leopard skin.
This makes a lot of sense to me.
Yep. For years to come, people won't be saying, but why?
But why? No, I agree. Simple oversight, they fixed it. Thumbs up.
Okay, next. Now, this is slightly out of order in the show notes, but screw it, we're going with it anyway. If you look in the Doomfist preview video that we're going to talk about later, it has a load of shots of kind of the work in progress of the making of Doomfist.
Yes.
And some people looked through the footage and saw some weird stuff. They saw different gun skins. Specifically, Soldier has like a weird... You're in the default Soldier skin, but he has an odd-looking gun.
It looks kind of like a railgun, doesn't it?
Yeah. And in another one, it has Sombra with a differently coloured gun.
Now, the differently coloured gun does look kind of like it has the Summer Games logo on it. That's on Tracer's headband and one of Zarya's skins. Yeah. So that's probably to do with the Summer Games, but it is interesting because it means we're going to get gun skins that aren't tied to
competitive.
Not just that, but also they're not tied to specific outfits, which is something I'm so up for.
Do we know that? We don't know that.
But we're seeing the skins we're seeing the gun changes without the rest of the model changing.
Yes.
So I'm wondering if it's just going to be gun skins where you can just...
Yeah. It's
made sense to me for a long time that why does Genji shurikens have to be from this model? Why can't I have the model, the shurikens from this model?
There was that big thing a while back when someone faked it with a Reinhardt thing.
Yes.
They cooked up some image and a load of media people were like, this image could not be faked. And everyone's thinking, okay. And it turned out it was faked, obviously.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, I think there was a big enough hoo-ha about that maybe Blizzard were like, this is something that people really want. Maybe we should do that.
Yeah. I'm all for it. I can't wait to have different swords on. Oh man, I can finally have the best swords on the best skin.
Yeah, exactly.
With the best shurikens.
I don't see why not to do it.
No, I actually had a thing. I was just like, is there a good reason why they wouldn't do that?
Yeah,
I can't think of a good one.
All the skins and all the all the different skins, they don't change character animations for the skins.
No, not at all.
So all the guns have to work with regular animations.
So the only one that I can think of where it might be problematic is Genji's swords, because Genji's swords obviously have their sheaths, but you just move the sheaths over as well. Yeah,
well, that's a grotesque amount of work. It also I don't know if there's any guns which, I mean, for D.Va's mech, it might be an issue, because if you're going to change the guns on the mech.
Oh, yeah, that'd be pretty gross, wouldn't it?
Or I don't know if there's any character that has any kind of tube leading off their gun into their body. But
Lucio.
Yeah, that could be an issue.
That could be an issue, yeah.
But, I mean...
So maybe there are good reasons, but maybe...
It's all fixable, though, right?
Yeah.
Well, here's my other thought about it, though. Would, say, a bright green Sombra gun be more popular than a golden Sombra gun?
Maybe. See, there are heroes for which I'd want to wear things that aren't I'll tell you, exactly one. Reaper.
Right.
I love the not the El Blanco skin, but I'd love to get Golden Reaper guns, but I don't like the Golden Reaper guns from the mariachi skin.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'd actually prefer to have the... But then, they got the mariachis, the El Blanco skin, so I just haven't bought Golden Reaper guns. I just had the money sitting there. I'm about to buy a Hanzo arrow. Someone stop me.
Good Lord.
Terrible. I know, right?
You're going full Shimada. Don't do it.
You're so worth it.
Anyway, this came from the Doomfist making of vid. And there was a tweet this week saying that Doomfist will be arriving on the... Well, I mean, Americans do dates wrong. So it says 7/27/2017. But everyone knows that makes absolutely no sense.
It's
what they actually mean is the 27th of the 7th, 2017.
Yes, absolutely. There is one other thing that we do spot in the video that isn't in the real game, which is the hero portraits. So you know how there's this platinum border that nobody can go above at the moment?
Yeah.
Well, they've added a new border that is even more sparkly.
Well, I mean, okay, so going to the video, there's a load of cool stuff in it. They kind of talk about, it's mainly about the design process of Doomfist, talking about how it all just came from the name Doomfist, which, okay, so can we just stop for a second and appreciate how stupid the name Doomfist is?
Oh, it's utterly ludicrous. It is an awful name. It's a dreadful name.
I can't remember who it is in the video, but they're like, yeah, I think it was something like Chris Metzen comes in and just says, yeah, and this guy's going to be called Doomfist. And he was like, oh my God, that's amazing. And I'm like, no, you didn't. Did you? Are you that toadyish? I think you were like, Doomfist. Wow, that's, I mean, no, I'm not against Doomfist. I think it's fine, but it's a thing, right? That you're going for Doomfist.
So I have this thing about names. Which is
Apocalypse Chin.
Apocalypse Chin.
End Times Foot. I mean...
No, I totally agree. It's a ridiculous name. But I also have this thing where... So I think... So Michael Jackson is kind of a bit of an idol and a legend, and
I can't wait to see how this connects to the... Carry on.
But the thing is, I always thought, Michael Jackson, that's such a cool name, until I broke it down. The surname Jackson, I don't think is cool. The first name Michael is, fine, but it's not, particularly cool. So the only time that I ever...
association.
But the association. Yeah. And I can imagine a scenario where, when you're presenting, an entire idea and a concept, and you're kind of doing the world building, and you're in the middle of a pitch, and you talk about this person called... and you've just built this entire world, and it builds up, and, you've established lore... And you're like, yeah, and Doomfist, yeah, absolutely, why not? That's great. And I can imagine kind of being in that room where you get excited, not just about Doomfist, but also about, the entire concept.
Yeah. Although, I mean, one thing they also mentioned in the video is that when they made the original, cinematic to advertise Overwatch, and they had the Doomfist in it, they had no idea about what was going on beyond it being the Doomfist. So... I can imagine the design meeting where they're literally saying, okay, we need a MacGuffin that they're fighting over in this museum. What are we going to have this MacGuffin? We could have it the Doomfist. Sure, let's roll with that.
Yeah, sure, why not? It has to be something, right?
Yeah.
Though I do find it very worrying that an extraordinarily powerful weapon has such bad security.
Yes,
it's a bit like imagine that was a nuke, and they're just like, yeah, I'm just going to wander off with this.
Well, there's a fat security dude playing Hearthstone.
There is a fat
security.
What more do you want? A lot, honestly. Yes. But sure, whatever.
So, other take homes from the video. They say that Doomfist is a love letter to the fighting game genre, which I can kind of get behind.
I can believe that. I've played
it. Feels very Street Fighter 2. In fact, it most makes me think of Smash Brothers.
I can understand that.
Because you can imagine his uppercut thing getting you back on the level so you can grab it, and yeah.
I've seen videos of Smash Brothers, and I can see how that would work.
In fact, one of my friends who I used to play a load of Smash with, they just kind of called me it randomly, and they were like, oh man, so you're totally going to be playing Doomfist now, because it's like Captain Falcon, who I used to play back in Smash Brothers, and I was like, not really, but he's cool.
No, I already have a man with a hammer.
Exactly.
He's much cooler.
So other things that happen in this. In one part of the video, they talk about how getting melee to work in a FPS shooter game is really, really hard. And they just happen to have a picture of Reinhardt like going on when they said that, and I was like, "Oh, nice touch. Is that subconscious?" I don't even.
I assume that was intentional.
Yeah, there's a wonderful moment where you're looking over the shoulder of one of the graphical artists, and you can tell that literally they've just been told, okay, look like you're busy. And the lady, like, she just grabs an IK handle and just kind of moves it left and right for a bit. And you're like, what are you even doing? Yep. What else? Oh, they talk about how Doomfist is super menacing. And I'm like, is he?
In the context of the Overwatch world, yes.
But no, they're talking about how aesthetically he's super menacing. And I don't know.
No, I'm with you there. He's not super menacing.
In his highlight intros, his face is always just a bit goofy. You know what I mean? Like his expressions are a little bit comic-y.
Yeah, have you ever watched Mercy during her highlight intros? Like her face?
Yeah, but she's not meant to be sinister.
No, I agree, but she also looks dumb as fuck.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, like somehow I think there's something lost in translation between the original and what ends up on our screens. I don't know why, but
it's a little bit of the problem that Pixar has, where their eyes are meant to be really expressive, but they're just kind of cold and dead. It just makes them look like puppets.
Well, yeah, it's the doll eyes, right? Where they've got these like very clear, very bright eyes that are quite large, but actually they're kind of glassy.
Yeah.
And it just reminds you of a dead person. Yeah.
You see, that would be sinister. If they played up to that would be sinister. He's dead inside. And on that note, yes, there's a video. You should watch it. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say I actually prefer this to the introductions I remember from the other heroes. Because with the other heroes, they just do like a video where they show the abilities.
It feels like I learnt something from this video.
Yes, I'm not sure what, but I felt like I was...
to see something of an insight, which was,
Yeah, I enjoyed this one.
Yes. Next, we have the comic Masquerade.
Yes. How do you feel about this?
Okay, so the plot synopsis of the comic is Doomfist breaks out of jail. Doomfist goes to casino. Doomfist gets attacked in casino. Doomfist goes to Venice. Doomfist kills some dude.
Yeah. What? Okay, so the bit that I'm really confused about, because the rest of it I can kind of like hand wave away.
I'm so glad you're really confused by this too, because there's loads in it, which to me just seems like lots of separate vignettes, and it doesn't really tie together very well at all.
It totally doesn't tie together at all. Like, they're in Venice, so they wear costumes. Like,
well, I mean, they have a masquerade thing in Venice. That's the thing, where everyone's dressed up. So to blend in, sure, but
I mean, but why is that a part of? I don't know. It just seems like so tangential.
Yeah, it totally seems shoehorned.
It's so like it's just so they can have like Sombra as a Harlequin and Reaper as a different type of master skull person, who totally reminds me of Taskmaster in this particular comic. He totally looks like a love letter to Taskmaster.
I also found just loads of the comic isn't very tight. It's not tightly edited. Like, there's loads of cells which are just, I mean, I guess that, I mean, sure. It just doesn't seem like you have entire pages where the plot doesn't really significantly move forwards.
No, I don't get it.
Yeah, I literally had to read it a couple of times to work out what was going on. Like, he's talking with this robot dude who's part of Talon,
Omnic.
And then they're in
Clearly
a casino, and they get attacked by some mooks, except the mooks don't even have guns. They decide to take on, like, this close combat specialist without, I mean... Also, it's like...
But there's this really random thing where Widowmaker chucks dice back onto the table and the Omnic loses money, and they devote an entire panel to like him losing money, and I'm just like, but that's relevant. How?
Yeah, exactly. Also, right, they get the call from Sombra that there's company headed your way, and it's literally 4 dudes who presumably are linked with this other guy that they later go to kill. They literally walk into the casino and just get beaten up. Like, we don't even actually know if they're going to attack Doomfist. There's nothing to suggest that they are any threat to Doomfist and Widowmaker at all. It's literally 4 dudes who are associated with this other guy who walk into a casino and they're like, they're here to attack us, let's kill them! Bam, bam, bam! And it's
like this idea that, like, Doomfist is actually just really, really paranoid and occasionally just beats up poor random individuals. Like,
they're on holiday or something. And then we cut to Venice and people are dying, and and
then they have a meeting.
Well, no, right. What I assume the story is meant to be here is that they're fighting their way to get to the end boss, like, who is this guy who sent the mooks to kill them at the casino. But if that is the end boss, then it kind of seems so disjointed. It kind of seems that, okay, we've got Sombra, Widowmaker, and Reaper killing some chumps, and that seems to be completely unrelated to Doomfist talking to this Beardy guy. And then Beardy... Right, okay, and here's where the logic completely fails me. If Doomfist and his crew have just killed all of this guy's mooks, why is this guy just walking up to Doomfist in a kind of like, hey, we're buddies kind of way? I mean, okay, I guess that could be a kind of desperate, oh, you've cornered me kind of thing, but they don't sell that at all. Like, at all. And then, after Doomfist has killed the guy, Reaper's like, who was that? What, don't you know who this guy is, Reaper? You're meant to be like a big part of... Oh, the whole thing just confuses me so much. I don't really understand what's going on.
I have no idea. It's a mess. Like, there are other comics which I didn't overly enjoy that much, but this one I think is the worst just in terms of storyline, because I just get to the end and I'm just like, eh?
Yeah, exactly. It just seems like they were like, okay, we want to, like, put a load of potential skins out there. And by the way, the Doomfist one is never, ever going to be a skin. Can you imagine that? It's all like frilly and purple and white and no.
Pimp Fist.
Pimp Fist. Oh, actually, maybe that could be pretty cool.
Yeah. I really don't have much. There's just so many things about that where I'm just, what?
Yeah, I don't get it. Now, maybe it's just that I don't get it, and it actually makes loads and loads of sense. But
I think that
I'm pretty clued up on this stuff.
One of us would have got it, right? Like, we're not...
maybe. Anyway, it's the comic. You should read the comic, because it's beautifully... Well, it's not animated. It's beautifully drawn, and it's great. It's just I don't get it.
I shall tell you what. The animated version has like some really good music in it. Like the soundtrack's pretty damn good. I really enjoyed that, and I'd like to extract some of those files because I thought it was pretty cool. But it's just like, huh? Why? What is going on here? I don't know.
Yeah. It's just it jumps around and yeah.
Yeah. You know what it's like? You know what it's like? It's like a student movie.
Okay. Anyway. Yeah. In fact, what it strikes me is that like the people making it were really submerged in it, and they didn't get anyone from outside the team to look at it for the first time and just be like, so does this scan? This person from outside the team would be like, I don't really understand it's
one of those things like they all already know what's going on, and they've kind of talked it through so many times that they forget that they forgot to include bits.
Yeah.
Anyway,
stuff that has been talked about on the forums. First up, sleep darts are getting fixed in Total Mayhem.
Because in Total Mayhem, your cooldowns are ridiculously short, so you can literally just keep someone asleep forever. Which
is obviously horrible.
Yep.
I have had games of Total Mayhem where I've been caught out on the flank, and Diana just sits there. She keeps you asleep, but she'll like stay over your body while healing her own damn team, and you're just like, so look, right. And it's not even that bad when you can kind of see what's going on, but when you're stuck just looking at a wall, that's when it's bad. You're like, that's a wall. I can hear things going on, but that is a wall. Yeah, so I'm glad they're fixing that. That'll make Total Mayhem even better, because I quite like Total Mayhem.
I was pleasantly surprised by Total Mayhem. That was a surprisingly good game. Yes. A lot of fun.
I think I'd love to see them do a bit more tweaking with it so that it makes more characters viable. Then I am so down for Total Mayhem.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next up, a Scott Mercer one. which is talking about cards at the end of the game. You know, you get those cards saying you did the most, like, kills or whatever.
Or various other things sometimes which don't seem to make much sense why you got that card when you did other things which seemed much more impressive.
Well, here's the thing, and Scott Mercer talks a little bit about how the cards are put together, and loads of this I didn't know. Say if you want to get the enemies killed card, you don't just need to get the most enemies killed on your team, you need to get the most enemies killed higher than the opposing team as well.
Yeah, so this is something that I had actually managed to work out.
But did you know it, or had you just worked it out?
I'd worked it out, but it's really, really nice to get confirmation of loads of things.
How did you work it out? Oh, excuse me.
Because there were times where I was absolutely definitely gold damage, and I'd done a lot of damage in that game, and I didn't get the damage done stat. And when you get to the end of the game and you've gotten, like, you know, so much of a particular stat, like damage done, or healing. Like, I had this game where I healed a ridiculous amount of Xana, and I didn't get the healing done stat. The other team did, and I was like, oh, okay, so...
okay.
And I realised, you know, you can't... There are rules such as, like, you can't have more than one person get a particular card. So it doesn't matter. So doesn't matter which team it's on, there's only one of a particular card, and you kind of begin to work out the rules, such as, oh, it must be like over everyone. Then it took a lot of working out, but yeah, I figured that out.
It all adds up.
It totally all adds up. I didn't. The one thing that I didn't realize was how offensive and defensive assists worked, because that always confused me.
Which part of it?
What counts as an offensive assist and what counts as a defensive assist.
Right.
Because as Mercy, it makes a lot of sense. Like, if you're damage boosting someone, it's offensive. If you're healing someone, it's defensive.
Right.
But I didn't quite get how that worked with, like, Zenyatta, where you had the orb on someone and that made a defensive assist, whereas the orb of Discord makes it offensive assist. Like, I was like, oh, okay, I see how that works.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how does that actually work on Ana?
It's slightly weird in that respect.
Yeah, it is. It's a little bit bizarre.
Yeah.
Because it means that you can only get it on certain supports.
Really?
Yeah, because how else can you get an offensive assist?
How else could you get an offensive assist?
Because it has to be like you're assisting them in a way that makes their
damage boosting them in some way.
Yeah, I suppose you could get it with Orisa.
What does Lucio's speed boost count as? Is that an offensive assistance?
That must be offensive.
And the other one's defensive.
Yeah,
so he's got offensive and defense. Zenyatta's got offensive and defense. Mercy's got offensive and defense.
Ana does not.
Ana, does she not?
No, she just has defensive assists.
What about when you nano boost someone?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I guess that would be it, wouldn't it? But you wouldn't get that many.
Also, Ana can get offensive assists by actually just causing damage to enemies, right?
Does that count as I suppose it's just a standard assist, isn't it?
Yeah, but
does that count as?
Oh, do standard assists count?
I think those count towards your eliminations, not your assists.
Oh yeah, no, you're probably right. Huh.
These cards are more complicated than you'd think.
Yeah. It's also interesting that they carry across all characters as well.
Yes.
Which it makes sense. I mean, we kind of knew that, but it's nice to have it confirmed that it's not like anything individual in it.
What I'd really like to know is, like, does the game sometimes look as a hero and think that hero did a whole lot this game? I want to give them a card. And sometimes that means you get weird cards. Because, like, sometimes you get damage reflectors again, and it's like, okay, that was fine, I guess. But that's not really...
I wonder if they put it up against, like, the average that a Genji reflects.
Maybe?
Like, on a given map. And they're like, if it's kind of like way above the average that a Genji reflects, then they're like, oh, okay, sure.
But that's so dependent on the heroes that you're playing against.
What I want to know is how certain stats weigh up against others. Yeah, like how they choose, like, reflects to come in instead of whatever else.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting.
I think they must have something about, like, comparing it to an average. Otherwise, how would you choose?
No idea. But anyway, there's a little bit more information, and I recommend just having a quick read if you have any interest in that sort of thing.
Yes. Finally on the forums, Michael Chu talks about who from the Overwatch team will be at San Diego Comic-Con. We have Arnold Sang, the assistant art director, Renaud Galland, lead character design, Jeff Goodman, principal game designer, and Michael Chu will be doing a panel on Friday. And the next thing is the Comic-Con Overwatch talk, which is the panel that Michael Chu will be doing on Friday. And there's information about what that'll be, and I assume it'll be all over YouTube as well.
One assumes so.
Well, if not all over YouTube, at least around at YouTube.
Makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. And I think it's going to be more stuff like the Doomfist preview, kind of talking about the process and yeah.
Yeah, I imagine there's also just going to be like a little bit of a Q&A and just sort of like throwing things out that maybe they haven't thrown out before. Some interesting stuff will probably come out.
Yeah, I suspect we will be talking about it in next week's show. And lastly, the cat in a tree story is why baseball doesn't like competitive Overwatch.
So, do you want to explain this?
Okay, so Overwatch are trying to trademark. Is it exactly trademarking their symbol? It's registering its league logo is the exact technical term, which is the tracer running left with grey on one side and orange on the other. Obviously riffing off the thing that baseball's logo does and basketball's logo, right?
Yeah, and pretty much every other big sport. So like MLG, Major League Gaming, has pretty much the same thing. Red, controller in white, blue on the other side with MLG on it. Just, there are so many things which have done this exact same thing where it's just like one colour.
Yeah, it's like a rectangle.
It's one colour on the right side, a kind of block version, usually in white, of some sort of character or some sort of icon that represents that particular game or sport, and then another colour on the left. It is so overused, I don't see how this can go anywhere, because there's so much prior art now.
Yeah,
so much.
Well, it's not that Major League Baseball are taking any action. They've just registered that they want another 90 days to have a think about it. But I don't see how this has any negative effect on baseball at all. Unless, like, baseball are worried that esports is getting too big and they have to fight against esports in every way they can, which is so bizarre.
So there is this thing where if you have some sort of mark, some sort of IP, if you
don't defend it, then everyone can use it.
Yeah. So it's one of those things that ship has so sailed.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
I imagine that they just filed for the extra 90 days because they could.
Yeah.
And they're not likely to do anything about it.
You've got lawyers on your payroll anyway. Most of the time they're not doing anything. You're like, lawyers, do some lawyering. Sure, why not?
Yeah. Anyway, that's about that. I expect nothing to come of it.
Yes, and that has been This Week in Overwatch.
Yeah.
Not like sometimes when we have massive, what's the word I'm looking for? I always said diaphragm shifts.
Now I can
paradigm shifts.
I prefer diaphragm shifts.
No, paradigm.
No, I prefer it when my diaphragm shifts. I need it to happen a lot.
That's hiccups, surely.
No, but I think of it as breathing.
Oh, well, yeah, okay, I guess it is usually breathing, but it could be hiccups.
That is entirely plausible.
And on that note, I've been Ruskeydoo.
And I've been Grey, and we'll see you next week.
Toodle pip.